was a rainy Monday morning when Sarah arrived at the airport. She had her suitcase, passport, and a ticket to Paris, her dream destination. The airport was busy, full of people rushing, laughing, or saying goodbye. Sarah stood in line to check in, her heart beating with excitement. But just as she reached the counter, the announcement came. Flight 204 to Paris has been delayed due to bad weather. Disappointed, she sat near her gate, watching the rain slide down the windows. Next to her sat an elderly man who smiled and said, "Waiting is part of every journey, you know." They started talking. His name was Mr. Bennett, and he used to be a pilot. He told her stories about flying over mountains, oceans, and cities glowing with lights. Hours passed, but Sarah didn't notice. The airport didn't feel so boring anymore. It felt magical. Finally, the flight was ready to board. Sarah thanked Mr. Bennett for the company and headed to the plane. As she took her seat, she realized that sometimes the journey begins before the plane even leaves the ground. As the plane took off, Sarah looked out of the window. The city lights below sparkled like stars. She felt calm, remembering Mr. Bennett's stories. The flight was long but peaceful. She read a book, listened to music, and even took a nap. A few hours later, the captain spoke over the speaker. "Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be arriving in Paris in 30 minutes. The weather is clear, and the temperature is a cool 12 degrees Celsius." Sarah smiled. Her dream was finally coming true. At the airport in Paris, she picked up her suitcase and walked outside. Everything felt new, the language, the people, the sounds. She took a deep breath and whispered to herself, "Welcome to Paris." But as she waited for her taxi, she heard a familiar voice behind her. "Did you enjoy the flight?" She turned around. It was Mr. Bennett. Surprised, she laughed. "You're here too?" He nodded. "I had a feeling we'd meet again. Paris is full of surprises." They shared a taxi and talked more about travel, life, and dreams. What started as a delayed flight had turned into a beautiful friendship. Sarah learned that sometimes the best journeys don't go as planned, and sometimes strangers at an airport can change your life forever. The next morning, Sarah woke up early in her small Paris hotel. The sun was shining and the air smelled like fresh bread and coffee. She remembered Mr. Bennett saying, "If you want to find the real Paris, don't just visit the Eiffel Tower, get lost in the small streets." So she took her camera and walked through narrow alleys and quiet neighborhoods. After an hour, she found a small cafe hidden between two old buildings. Its wooden sign read, "Café de Voyageurs, Traveler's Cafe." Inside, the place was cozy. There were books on every shelf, maps on the walls, and soft music playing. She ordered a croissant and hot chocolate, then sat by the window. To her surprise, Mr. Bennett was already there, reading a newspaper. He looked up and smiled. "Told you Paris has surprises." They laughed, and he introduced her to the cafe owner, a kind woman named Elise who used to be a travel writer. Elise shared stories of adventures from around the world, and even showed Sarah an old travel journal filled with sketches and notes. Inspired, Sarah decided to start her own travel journal. She wrote, "Day 1 in Paris, met a friend, found a hidden cafe, discovered that every city has a secret, and every traveler has a story." As the day ended, she knew this was more than just a vacation. It was the beginning of something bigger, new friendships, new dreams, and a new version of herself.